Hey guys, welcome back to Entertainment Extra. Today I will be reviewing Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, which just dropped on Netflix yesterday. So let's get into it. I'm going to start with the good and the bad. So for the good, Zack Snyder has some great visual effects in this one. They're very similar to Rebel Moon Part 1. It's as good as Rebel Moon Part 1. It's nowhere near as good as Star Wars visual effects, but still really good. Some great CGI. There's no CGI that's really bad in this. I've heard some complaints about the ships looking just cartoony in this, but it's not that bad. They really got the atmosphere and feeling of all the looking of all the ships and spacecrafts well, and they got the planets really well. So it's not as good as Star Wars visual effects, but still really good. But there's a lot more character development in this than in Part 1. I know Part 1 had Cora's backstory and things, but this has a lot more backstories for all the other rebels, like General Titus. And the backstories aren't interesting, but they are quite emotional and sad. And it's good that they do give backstories, but unfortunately it's not really the right time to show the backstories. They were just sitting at the table and telling it to each other, but that's okay. The action sequences were really, really cool and badass. Some of my favourites included Cora fighting all the Imperium guards and Nemesis in fighting all the Imperium troops. So that was really cool. They had a cool vibe to them, and it didn't feel like Star Wars. It felt more newer, and it definitely had a different tone to Star Wars and to other sci-fi movies I've seen. I can say that the characters and performances were pretty good. The characters were a bit meh, but some were good, some were bad. Most of them were pretty interesting, but there were only a few, about 10 characters really, and then all of the rest of them were kind of like NPCs and just in the background. But there are still many badass characters, and some of my favourites is Nemesis, Cora, and Jimmy's robot. All of them are badass and they're really cool, and the actress who played Cora, I don't know her name, but she's really good in her role. So people don't really like the slow-mo that's all used in the film. People are saying there's too much slow-mo. In my opinion, there was less than the first. There wasn't too much slow-mo in this one. And I really, honestly, don't really care about slow-mo. I think it's quite cool. It definitely should be used in this kind of movie. I've seen it in lots of other sci-fi movies, but it does less than Part 1. And Zack Snyder says he likes using slow-mo in his movies, but other people don't really like it. It's kind of like Zack Snyder does all these like slow-mo, and all the audience and critics don't really like it. So that's the kind of issue, that's the kind of point here. Lots of people don't really like the things he uses in his movies, but all of his movies on Rotten Tomatoes weren't really certified fresh. I mean, certified fresh is quite hard to get, but only one of his movie got certified fresh, and that was Dawn of the Dead, I think, and all the others were either fresh or rotten. Most of his were rotten. General Noble was more scary and more violent than the first. I wasn't really sure. I didn't really think they should have brought him back after Part 1, because he didn't have much screen time much at all in Part 1. We didn't see him for like about the middle of the movie. But it has lots of screen time for him, and he's more sinister and creepy in this one as well. And in one scene he was trying to kill all the children and mothers. So now we're going to move on to the bad. So there wasn't much screen time for Jimmy the Robot. He was more of a background character in most of the film. He wasn't a background character for all the film, though I kind of wish we spent more time with him, and we did see some character development at the start of Rebel Moon Part 1, but we wanted to know more in this one, but he doesn't really have any time to shine in this. There is one battle where he kills off all the Imperium guards, and that was really cool to see. But apart from that, he isn't really in it for much. We've heard that Zack Snyder actually made a director's cut of the movie as well, which is going to be R-rated. And I think most of the people are saying that it's just saving it for the R-rated cut, which isn't very good. I mean, lots of these elements, they could have definitely cut it for R-rated, and it just like, I'm not really caring. I think they're just... I don't know if Zack Snyder is actually doing this, but not caring about this movie and just caring for the R-rated cuts, then there's no point for this movie to even come out if he's actually coming out with R-rated cuts of the movie. But there's some quite pushing the PG-13 limits in this. A child actually died in this. Cora, well, not really died. At the end, we already saw what happens when Cora gets threatened by the Imperium troops in her backstory to kill her daughter, and then she kills her, which is really, really scary. And Cora's quite a sad and scary backstory, but she does. They do say that her daughter is alive in the ending as well. The first hour is pretty bad. I mean, I was thinking, didn't have high hopes for this movie because I was just thought it was this one big battle for the whole movie. But no, but still, the first hour isn't that good. There's about 15 minutes of character development. That's really all, and for the rest of it, it's just hanging out in the pub, in the tavern, just getting ready for the fight, just talking. It's quite boring at the start bit, and there's like 3 to 5 minutes of farming in this. But if you like farming, you'll like this montage, but I don't know why they had 3 to 5 minutes of farming, because it just doesn't feel like a sci-fi movie, really. It does get ideas from Star Wars and Seven Samurai for some of it, but like the village felt a lot like Mos Eisley, and it definitely got ideas from Seven Samurai a lot, or maybe a bit too much. Overall, I thought this was a pretty good movie. It's a tiny bit better than Rebel Moon Part 1. I rated Rebel Moon Part 1 a 7.5 out of 10. I think I'll be saying it's a 7 out of 10. Because this movie is a 7 out of 10. And it is a B on the grade scale. So if you like lots and lots of sci-fi violence and action, you'll definitely like this. There's lots of sci-fi action and violence. And I've seen some reviews panning this movie so bad. Rotten Tomatoes has it now an 18% on the scale, and some people are even calling it one of the worst movies they've ever seen of all time. It's not as bad as that. In my opinion, it's 100% not as bad as that. I think audience will like it, but critics just won't like this film. But anyway, that's all for Entertainment Extra today. Hope you subscribe and follow me on TikTok as well. I have a TikTok account and I have a Twitter account. And Letterboxd as well. So there's all social media links on my channel. So, bye.